Welcome to those of you watching via satellite on ArizonaWildcats.com, on television, and listening on the radio. It's been a very exciting 4 days for the Wildcat football team, starting with the victory Saturday against Arizona State. On to today's announcement. Just a brief update on what we'll be doing today. In a moment, the Director of Athletics will be greeting you, the President of the University, and of course the Wildcats' new coach. We will take questions from the media following the coach's opening remarks, after which there will be a separate stand-up opportunity for media members to our left here behind the red curtain. Due to the time constraints today, there will not be any one-on-one interviews available. Okay, with that, the Director of Athletics at the University of Arizona, Greg Byrne, has brought tremendous excitement and enthusiasm to the University of Arizona athletics here. His passion for success has touched all 19 sports. Today's announcement, another example of the future of the Wildcats and why it is so very bright. So please welcome Athletic Director Greg Byrne.
Not sure if it's afternoon or morning, but whatever it is, how are we doing today? Everybody okay? This is a special day for the University of Arizona, our athletics department, our football program, as we welcome Coach Rodriguez, his wife Rita, his son, his daughter Raquel, his son Brett, into the Arizona family. Let's give them a welcome, okay? I want to recognize and thank, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank our president, Dr. Gene Sander, for all the support he has shown to us and our athletic department, our university, and I'd like him to come up and say a few words. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Greg. First of all, Coach Rodriguez and family, I'd like to welcome you to the University of Arizona. As I indicated to you, I think not only will you bring great distinction to our athletic program and our football program in particular, but you'll also be a great ambassador for the university as a whole. So thanks ever so much for all you're going to do for us. Before I sit down, I'd like to say a word about the exceptional job that Greg Byrne has done in this recruitment. Recruiting football coaches is a difficult situation. He did it with a lot of class. And you heard Brian talk about the 19 sports we have here within the athletic department. It's a great, nationally recognized program overall. And I think Coach Rodriguez will continue in that tradition with our men's football program. So thank you so much for being here today.
Okay, now for some thank yous. First and foremost, like I said, Dr. Sander, I'd also like to thank the support of the Arizona Board of Regents as we've gone through this process. There have been a few people internally especially that I've leaned on heavily, and that's Rocky LaRose, John Perrin, James Francis, Susie Mason, Scott Shake, and Bill Morgan. I'd also like to give a special thank you, a person that means a lot to this university and athletic department, Cedric Dempsey. He was a great resource and ally throughout this process, and I can't thank him enough. There were some folks that helped me get around a little bit and offered some support there, and they didn't ask a lot of questions during it either. But that's Jeff and Sharon Stevens and Alan and Alfie Norville. And then somebody I need to make sure I thank is because I probably haven't been the best husband or father in the last month or so, and that's my wife Regina and our boys Nicholas and Davis, and I sure would appreciate it if you give them a round of applause. Another guy and his whole staff, but somebody that took over a very challenging situation and provided tremendous leadership. We had our ups and downs through this time, but I think we all can agree last Saturday night was a special moment for our university and our football program. We've got a number of folks here that mean a lot to our university. Our football letter winners are seated here to my left. We have a lot of donors and season ticket holders. Thank you for being out here. We got alumni and fans throughout the country who are watching. We appreciate your interest in what we're doing. As you can imagine, a lot of time and energy went into this decision. We spoke to many people throughout the country, including the NCAA, multiple conference offices, director of athletics and senior officials at universities throughout the country. We talked to coaches, football coaches on the professional level, on the college level, on the high school level. And yes, we even talked to a few media members to get a little background from them. We had great interest in the position, and the name we kept coming back to throughout was Rich Rodriguez. And I want to tell you about 3 conversations that stuck out, and as you can imagine, there were a lot of them as we were going through this process. The first one is Coach Charlie Regal, who's the head football coach at Chaparral High School up in Scottsdale. And they had 2 young men from his program that had signed here out of Arizona, Coach Rodriguez had recruited to the University of Michigan, and they're still there right now. And after that, Coach Regal and his staff asked, can we come back to Ann Arbor? Can we spend some time with you and your staff? And most of the time you talk to high school coaches when that takes place, oftentimes that college staff will say, here, you spend some time with the operations staff, or you spend some time with our GAs, talk football there. He said, I'd never dealt with a major college coach that had devoted so much time and interest in our program. And they sat down and talked about football. They sat down and talked about running a program. And Coach Regal told me, in all those years, he'd never been more impressed in dealing with a coaching staff from a football standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint, from a compliance standpoint, and from an academic standpoint. And so that meant a lot to me in what took place there. The other one, I had a long discussion with Urban Meyer during this process. And we talked a lot of things about football and different things. But he said, Greg, he said, if you hire Rich Rodriguez, you're getting one of the 5 greatest minds in college football. That would be an incredible hire for the University of Arizona. The other one, a name that we all know a lot of, is last week when we went to New York. Coach Sean Miller and I spent most of the flight sitting next to each other. And when we were flying out there, we talked about things, and I really respect his opinion and judgment on people. And he said, Greg, I think about a couple things. Who's the most hungry guy out there? And the second thing is, who do the other coaches in the Pac-12 not want to have show up in Tucson, Arizona? And he said, my opinion is Rich Rodriguez. Go through his bio and you look, this man understands hard work and success and how those 2 things come together. And I want us all to welcome Coach Rodriguez and his family to the Arizona family. Welcome up, Coach.
Stretch that a little bit, right, Doc? Fit in there? That's good. Thank you so much. I am really blessed for this opportunity. Obviously, Greg Byrne, Dr. Sander, the Board of Regents, everybody involved in this process. Thanks, Sean, for those comments. Whatever you had, appreciate that. I am really, really excited about this opportunity. I'm so excited to be here. Before I go on, excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse. I had a little cold, and I want to introduce my family again. My wife, who's I'm blessed that she's not only obviously football or coach's wife, but she's going to embrace this family like you've never seen before. It's my wife, Rita, right there. Give her a round of applause. She's not looking at cold too, so her voice is worse than mine, but that's, for me and all the media that's going to ask her questions, is probably a good thing for me. She can't talk very much today. My daughter, Raquel, who's 15, is a sophomore in high school. Right there. My son, Rhett, who is 13 years old. I redshirted him. He's in the 7th grade. I will make an announcement here while I have the time. You know, he's in the quarterback class of 2017. He's actually one of the top 5 quarterbacks and recruited in that class of 2017. Originally, he was committed to West Virginia, decommitted from there. Then he was committed to University of Michigan, and decommitted there. He's got a solid verbal commitment to the University of Arizona. I will not let him decommit from Arizona. I don't say that. But one of the main reasons, obviously, there's a lot of reasons to be here in Arizona. Certainly the location. You know, being a chance. We've always talked about my family. I've been able to live in somewhere warm. I hadn't done that yet, but obviously the location is outstanding. You know, the reputation of your university academically and athletically is top notch. I think the opportunity, particularly now with the Pac-12, I think is going to have going to take off like it's never taken off before. And another main reason, and I'm not just saying this because he hired me, is Greg Byrne. I've known Greg for a couple of years. I always respected what he did. I got to know him a little bit and just kind of followed his career. You know, he's an aggressive go-getter. He's a coach's AD. He gets it. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of good athletic directors, but I was really excited when I had a chance to talk with Greg. And I'm sure he'll tell you if you ask him. I mean, he went through his due diligence. He called a whole lot of people because they wound up telling me that he was calling about me. And I'm talking about not just other coaches, Urban Meyer, and, you know, other athletic directors, and people from the NCAA, compliance people. It was my first grade teacher, the grocery clerk down the street. I mean, it was everybody and anybody. They said, Coach, you know a guy named Greg Byrne? I said, I know what he's talking about. So he did his process, and that's what makes me, I guess, even more flattered to be here, because I know that he had a lot of guys that were interested in this job, and why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? And that's important. And I know we've had some history of success. You have to give me a little time to study up on everything, because this process, even though Greg took a few weeks to do this, for me it was quicker than that. But I am learning. Obviously, I know about some of the great teams that you've had here. In fact, I talked to a good friend of mine, Coach Dick Tomey, last night. I've known he and his wife Nancy for quite some time, and we talked a little bit about it. I'm going to meet with him more. You know, and some of the great players you had here in the 90s and now, and even before that, there's a lot of great players. And I want all you lettermen that are here to know that you have an open invitation to come back and visit with me and visit with our staff. I think it's important that if you gave of yourself as a student athlete here, and I know all the other coaches feel the same way, that you feel welcome back, and you will. I guarantee you feel, and you're welcome back to be there. You always have been, I know that. But just because I did not go to the University of Arizona, and this is my first time here, don't think for an instant that I don't want you around, because I do. I can't let you call the plays unless you're on the staff. But I do want you around. And I'm reaching, you know, there's a lot of guys that I want to know. I want you all to tell me, to help me have success here. You know, I want to win the Rose Bowl at the University of Arizona. Players who graduated University of Arizona degree, and I want them to represent our university the right way on and off the field. And those are the things I will talk to the players. I'm very good. You've done that. You know, Teddy Bruschi and Chuck Cecil and Ricky Huntley and all the great players you have, they've always had great passion. They've always represented this place the right way. And then going forward, that's what we'll do. And I want to echo what Greg said about Tim. I just got a chance to talk to him a little bit, Tim Kish, because we have some mutual friends in the profession. But I think what he's done in a difficult situation has been absolutely remarkable. I had some friends, you know, I've been fortunate, you know, to have some opportunities, and I don't know what else was going on, and there were some other places maybe being interested, but you know, people said, well, you know, Arizona, what's appealing to there? I said, they've had success here. It's not like you've not won games. You won games before. Coach Tomey, Mike Stoops did some great things here. There's some good football players on this football team. There's some good coaches here. Mike Stoops is a good football player. There are some things that, obviously, that once I get through spring practice and evaluate everything, and I know where we stand. And however long it's going to take, it's, you know, I know I have a 5-year contract, and some people, when you have a 5-year contract, 5 years doesn't mean 5 years. But I want to tell you this, I know what you have in this administration. I know how important it is for you to have success in the football program. And you will get, I will not just coach University of Arizona football, I'm going to live it. And my family will live it, everybody on staff will live it. I've got a deep perspective because I go down and I see the beautiful weather, and it's a great college town. I mean, I've been fortunate to live in college communities. You got a great college town that supports your university, supports your athletics. You got great academics, you got great weather. You're an outstanding league who's going to continue to get even more and more exposure. You can recruit great players from your area to come down here. So why not Arizona? Right? Why not us? Why can't we win it all? And why, to me, and I'm not, this sounds, I know I'll be undefeated for another 6 months or so I can brag, but, you know, why would that, my goal is to make this the place in the southwest and western part of the country to come play football and get you community. And I know, and I can tell by your reaction today when you talked about the Territorial Cup and how important that game is with the folks up the road. It'll be emphasized every day how important that rivalry game is with ASU. That wasn't a hard game to get the guys motivated for, but he still was doing it. And they showed it obviously on the field. So, and I'm also excited about getting to meet the students. You know, I know that Coach Miller has that Zona Zoo cranked up, and they do it at the football games too. And there's 39,000 students. So however folks that we can fit in the stadium in Zona Zoo, I want to be able to double it. I want to sit on their laps in the Zona Zoo. And I'm going to do all I can to get those folks excited about that as well. And, you know, you've had, it's not just in football, look at the success you've had in other sports. You know, in softball and basketball. And, you know, Coach Miller signed the #1 recruiting class in the country. I don't want to come up here, some coaches will come up here and give you false promises and things like that. You know, I know the reason I was hired. I was hired, obviously, to win games and win championships, to graduate our kids, to make sure they're good people, represent us the right way, to be compliant, make sure you're part of the community. I understand all those reasons why. And I can assure you this, I guarantee you, you'll get my best effort, and whoever's on my staff's best effort every day. Right now, I'm going to be here for a day and a half, and then we're going to go to Thanksgiving for a day in Florida so we can get used to that warm weather. Because I don't know if I'm going back up cold weather again. But then I'm coming back Friday, I'm here for good. And I want to stay away, let Coach Kitchen's staff and players finish out with a big win this Saturday, and then we're going to hit recruiting full speed. In case you all want to ask questions about the staff, you know, there'll be a few guys that are probably hired quicker, and then I'll be more deliberate with than I've ever been in my career hiring the rest. So maybe up to a month before I complete the staff. You know, recruiting in this area, I'm not talking this area, obviously the state of Arizona is going to be very, very important. There's good football players in the state. There's great football coaches in the state. I've recruited, I know. I've recruited California. I know how important that state is. The state of Texas, the state of Louisiana will still stay in Florida. Now, I prefer, if I can, to stay, you know, kind of warm weather states, if I could. But we'll go anywhere in the country. I think you will have a brand name, or we have a good enough brand name to go anywhere in the country. You know, when you got to think about it. When you recruit in December and January, they come on their official visits. You think it's not pretty attractive to come to Tucson, Arizona in January, particularly if you're in some of those places up north? I think it's pretty attractive. But our main recruiting areas are going to be what they always have been here. And we're going to hit them pretty hard, and my staff will reflect that. Not all of them, but some of them will reflect that. They've had experience recruiting those key areas, so that'll happen as well. I hope, and I also want to know that I'm talking to the fans as well. You know, I'm usually a pretty open person when it comes to getting to know myself, my staff, our family, and our program. Now, obviously, there are certain times, like during the season, I can't have open practices and things like that. But there are going to be many times, and most of the times in the spring when it is open. I want you all to be around. I want you to ask questions. I want you to get to know the staff, get to know our players, and get to know me. You know, I always worry sometimes, and I shouldn't. What do they think of Coach Rodriguez? Because who knows what's been written the last 3 or 4 or 10 years. You know, and some of it is simply because I don't think people have really gotten to know you. And I want you all to get to know me. I want the media, all you media folks here, because I spent the last 6 months on the other side of the camera, on the dark side, so to speak. I've got a great appreciation with the job that you all have to do. So I think that'll help me going forward as well, and you'll get to know us. For all you Arizona fans, you'll get to know our program as well. The only thing I will promise you is when you watch us play, it won't be boring. All right? We're going to have fun watching it, and they'll play as hard as any team you've seen in the country. That thing we can control. We can control that from the very first play we play come September. Now, you'll see a passion team, you'll see a team that's committed, you'll see a team in great shape, and you'll see a team that plays hard. And when we win championships, I'm not going to give you a date. I'll give you more of a projection about where we're at after spring practice. But like I said, you want some big games this year. Coach Kitchen and staff have done a tremendous job, and there's some good football players here. And I hope they're committed. And I'm going to have a chance to talk to them here in a couple minutes and a little bit longer. But without going any further, again, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I am blessed. This is my final coaching stop. I hope to be able to do this another 12 to 15 years. We'll talk later about some of the goals we have for my players, but I think I told Greg this when we were talking. I said, it sounds kind of corny, but my number one goal as a coach, and I've been a head coach for 18 years, is that for every player I ever coached, whatever team I was at, after their career was over, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, they would be able to call me up and say, Coach, I do the same thing at the same place with the same people. If they say that, I did my job. I want you all, whatever it's 20, 30 years down the road, you ask Greg Byrne, I hired the same guy at the same place at the same time. I know he did his job and I did my job. So I'm blessed to be here. Blessed to be here. Go Arizona, bear down.
But very quickly, just an update on a few things. North end zone, we continue to make progress there. We're scheduled to break ground in January. I told Coach, I said, we'll just have a backhoe out there with nothing else in January, but we're going to make sure that's up and going for the future of Arizona football and what that means for our entire department because of space here at McHale as well. Arizona road trip for our fans around the state. We'll be back out there this spring again. We're working on the time frames and dates with Coach Rodriguez, Coach Miller, Coach Bunce, and some of our other coaches who will be out there. But that will be coming. But to our Phoenix market especially, here within the next 2 weeks, we'll get up there. We'll come see you. That's an important market for us. We need you. We need all the Arizona fans out there to come out. And then last but not least, for those of you who have been on the fence, obviously the folks here today aren't those. We need you involved. We need you buying season tickets. We need you in the Wildcat Club. We need you getting other people to do the same thing. That's critical for us. And just as importantly, for our seniors this year, the effort they gave last week up in Tempe, we need you at the Wildcat Walk this Saturday. We need you out at the game. Thanking those seniors for everything they've done and the coaching staff as well. So at this point, we'd like to open the floor to questions from the media.
And your brother had the baby?
Identical twin. Had a baby this morning.
This morning?
Yes.
God, look forward to seeing it.
They're happy and healthy. Anyway, what attracted you to here? What did you know about Arizona? Pretty well documented. You don't come west very often. What did you know from far away? What did you learn? Kind of the
Well, I've been in the state a few times, and obviously recruited some, and been in up north a little bit, the Phoenix area somewhat. But my wife and I always kind of talk about living somewhere warm and you kind of need to be in a place where the sun comes up 350 days a year and all that. But it was more than that. It was the the things I mentioned before, it's a college community, it's got great support, it's got great athletic programs, it's got a great academic reputation. You got an AD that wants to get it done, and get it done the right way. And so, why not? And I've had, again, without naming some schools, I have had the good fortune to coach in some great places before. They were great places. And when this opportunity came up, there was maybe a few other opportunities, and they were really neat. And for me, and making this hopefully my last stop, will be my last stop of coaching, you want to go where you win a national championship? I don't mind saying it. Now, that's hard to do. That's really hard to do, as you all know. But you can win one here. It takes a lot of work, and there's got to be a lot of things involved, a lot of people pulling in the same direction. Greg and I talked about it. I don't want to go through all the details, but the best jobs as a coach is when everybody's pulling in the same direction. You got all your fans, your support, your players, your coaches, your administration, your athletic director. Now, from the day you get the job, from the day you start working, you got everybody pulling in the same direction. That gives you a great opportunity to have success, and I truly believe we have that here.
Hey, Coach Ryan Recker, NBC, KBOA here locally. Can you take us through the process when you were contacted, when you became interested, and how it all played out?
Yeah, Greg probably alluded to you. I mean, he's, what they call him, a ninja warrior or something? Some kind of nickname he got on his hiring process. But, Greg, he did his due diligence, like I said, and it's amazing how many people that he contacted. And I'm sure, I wasn't the only one. I mean, he was whoever else, but he didn't talk to me about that. It was a couple of weeks ago. He flew into Detroit, and I happened to be at home because most of the days during the week I was doing TV stuff. Which, by the way, I want to thank CBS Sports because they gave me a great opportunity. I really love working with them. But the 1 or 2 days I was home in Michigan, he drove to Detroit. I picked him up, and I took him to the house. My wife made some pepperoni rolls. You all probably know what those are. That's kind of a specialty. And some nacho dip, and we had a great conversation. We'd known each other, but we talked about that a little bit. And then he went through another couple weeks of this process and called or met the other day, Dr. Sander and Rocky and JP and Greg then went and met me. I was calling a game in El Paso, UTEP and Tulsa football game, and so we met on the morning of the game and talked a little bit further there. So, I said, not only did I have with breakfast, he was in New York for one of Sean's games, and I was up there doing a studio show, so we met at a secret restaurant somewhere in Manhattan, and he said to be there at 8, so I was there 5 to 8, and it was 5 to 8, there was nobody there, even the restaurant wasn't open. And I was like, I get lost pretty easy. Get lost real easy in New York, so I'm thinking, oh boy, did I miss this breakfast? And then about 10 minutes later, the place was back. So, but nobody recognized it until we were done eating, and we were getting ready to leave, and some young man that was a graduate from the University of Michigan come by, and he didn't recognize Greg, because that would have blown his cover. But then he goes, Coach Rod, what are you doing here? I'm doing some TV work for CBS. And so I said, okay, that's great, moved on. So Greg's cover was good there.
Yes, David Kelly, Fox 11 TV. What did you learn from your Michigan experience, and what types of things are you going to try to change about your style here in the Swiss Soccer?
That's a fair question. I learned a lot of things, but I think, you can learn from when you have success and when you have failure. I think sometimes when you want to turn a blind eye to it, you're not trying to learn, all you're going to do is get worse. So I took 3 years, and there were some frustrating times there, but there was also some good things. The most frustration I had was the fact we didn't get a chance to see it through. I thought that at the time when we got there, after the first spring, it would take a little bit more than 3 years, and we'd slowly get better. And I thought year 4 and year 5 would be lights out. But year 4 and year 5, they're doing pretty good. It's frustrating to watch them. I don't mind telling you because those are all my guys, but I'm proud of them because they're doing so well. That's why I'm pretty hard work. But I learned, it wasn't, there were some misconceptions about it that I didn't know the tradition there because I didn't go there. But we embraced it from the start. But more than anything, you got to have a plan, you got to believe in the plan, you got to have everybody moving in the right direction. And if you do that, you'll be okay. And if you make a mistake, own up to it, move on. And I think I've learned to do that as well. So I think in all 26 years of coaching, I think I've learned something from every year. And in the past 6 months, I've learned from being out of coaching, being in the media aspect of it, I've learned some things. So I think I'm a better coach today, but I would ask the same thing of my players. I would hope my players would be better as a senior than they are as a freshman. I hope I'm a better coach 4 years from now than I am right now. You know, so that's why if you look at my contract escalates. You know, I get a little bit more every year because Greg expects me to be a better coach every year. And I'm committed to doing that.
Coach Jody Ayler, ESPN Tucson, 1490, 104.9 FM. I know it's early.
You got your call sign in there.
I got it all the way in there, yeah. I know it's early, but given the composition of your coaching staff, the lack of coaching experience on the West Coast, do you anticipate considering current members of the Arizona football staff for positions, or an approach of considering West Coast-centric coaches for your staff?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as I mentioned a little earlier, there's 3 or 4 guys that I think are great coaches that have been with me for quite some time, and a couple of them have recruited out here. They recruited 2 of the best players in the state of Arizona. They recruited some really good players both in West Virginia and Michigan from California, and recruited Texas. So, you know, and the best coaches can recruit anywhere. But those are some of those guys that and again, I don't know if they're coming for sure. You know, they're in great situations right now. But there's a few of those guys. But I think there's some really, really good, as I mentioned, some really, really good coaches on this staff that can recruit. You know, the 3 criteria for a coach is, can the guy recruit, can he teach and develop, and is he a good guy? And you got some, obviously, you got a lot of guys on the staff who can do that. But certainly, I don't want to try to mess around right now because Coach Kitchen's staff, they got a game to play and all that. But I want to have an opportunity to sit down and talk with some of those guys, and then there's other ones. There's going to, you know, be a few more weeks before I hire the rest of them. But probably the guys that I've not worked with before will probably be guys that have experience recruiting in this region.
Coach Bob Bond from Associated Press. Larry Leach and Ralph Russo say you're great at working with some pressures on.
Oh, there he is.
Do you find this situation anywhere similar to what it was in West Virginia as opposed to Michigan? And if that's a characterization, why would that be?
You know, a little bit. I really haven't thought in terms of the similarity between here and West Virginia. Because even West Virginia and here, and you know, when I coached at Clemson, and even in Michigan, there were college communities that had great support. And so there's more similarities than differences. I guess one of the things that does appeal to me, I don't mind saying this, is that in West Virginia, I thought some of our success was due because we had a little chip on our shoulder that we felt we needed to prove ourselves. And, you know, we approached that as coaches. We kind of nurtured that with the team that, hey, you know, this is, you know, we're going to prove ourselves. So we're going to have a chip on our shoulder, and we'll show the country that we can win championships and do all that. And I think hopefully we have that here. I think we do that. But it's not just the team. I'm not going to just tell the team. I got something to prove. I don't like it when somebody says, whether it's a coach or a player, you hear something else. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I do. Every day I do. And I always hope I have that. And I would expect our players and coaches to have the same attitude. Well, I guess, and I'm not saying this just because y'all sitting there, all the media folks, but I gained a better perspective of what your job is about. You know, certainly how hard you work, but more than anything, I think I've gained how I can make the media's job better. And I know there's a lot of different media, obviously print media, TV and radio and all that, but I think from being in that aspect, it's helped me get an appreciation for it. You know, and I guess, you know, not just for me, but be able to explain to the players, you know, when those guys have a camera or a mic or a recorder in front of you, you know, instead of just, you know, trying to teach them what to say, teach them how to act, and teach them how you can help them do their job better without giving all away the trade secrets of who's hurt, what plays you should be called to beat them and all that stuff. I guess get a better perspective for y'all, you know, and I do got a little bit of hillbilly accent. But also a way how they can have a job be easy.
Regis Jack from FoxSportsArizona.com. Obviously, you haven't seen your personnel and don't know how your offense is, I suppose, look yet. But can you just talk about what you like about that offense and how it seems to attract athletes?
Well, there's one misperception or several misperceptions about our offense. It's like when people say you don't use tight ends or you don't use fullbacks, we use the best personnel we have or what we can recruit to. The last year in Michigan, I think we used a tight end on the play over 75% of their 60-20. They were 60-20, so it was a perfect job to take because the expectations were way down here. So I took the job. I think it was me and 2 other guys applied for it. The other 2 never coached. So they gave me a job, and I can remember there was only 25 guys on the team when I took it, and I was the biggest guy on the team, so I knew we were in trouble. And I thought to myself, well, we can get 5 guys up front, 5 linemen, they get run over slowly. I get a quarterback, put him in a shotgun, and get rid of the football, we'll have a chance. So we studied the run and shoot. I had a quarterback that was about 5'10". I got 5 little chubby guys that get run over slowly, and it all took off. But I can remember the very first play, there was only 500 people in the stands, right? And I'm related to 490, so it's a friendly crowd. And so we threw a pass that gained 13 yards. It was against Cumberland College in Kentucky. We threw a pass that gained 13 yards. I looked around, I got a standing ovation. I was on the headsets and I told the coaches, heck, I ain't never leaving. This is perfect. So I wound up staying 7 years, but it was the principle behind it. I was a defensive coach in my few years before that, but when I came to head coach, I went on offense. And I thought as a defensive coach, and Coach Kidd can appreciate that, what's the hardest thing to defend? And I always thought it was the 2-minute drill. Whenever a team goes in a 2-minute drill before the end of the half or the end of the game, it looks like they go up and down the field. So if you're a fan, you're like, shoot, why don't they do that the whole game? Well, I thought, okay, let's go ahead and try that. So we did that approach. Let's run a 2-minute drill the whole game. And so over the years, 20 years, it's kind of evolved into some of the zone read and doing all that stuff. That's when it started. But now it's evolved to where we used to be all 4-line. Now we use tight ends, we use fullbacks, we mix personnel. The rules favor, Coach Kiss will tell you this, the rules favor offense. You can substitute, the defense didn't have a lot of time to match your substitution and all that stuff. There's a lot of rules in favor of offense, but there's no one set spread scheme. Our spread scheme may be different than somebody else's down the street and all that. I think that's what makes college football so exciting, is the variety. But we do like to play fast. I do think a huddle is the biggest waste of time in football. And what are they going to do? I told the guys, we're not going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya on the field. We'll do that. We're on the field, we're going to play ball. We'll play fast.
Coach Greg Byrne for Tucson. I know you alluded to this earlier, but what kind of specific timeline do you have in terms of formulating your coaching staff and hitting growth?
I would hope, again, because most of the guys, you got to be respectful to the other teams that are still playing regular season games. Most of them, a lot finish up this week, but there's a lot of other schools that don't finish up until next week in the regular season. I don't want to do anything to interrupt the regular season with that. There may be a couple guys hired as quickly as next week, but that could be doubtful. But I would think the week after that, there'll be a few hires. And then hopefully, I would certainly like to take the staff and be in place before Christmas, for obvious reasons for recruiting. I took the NCAA recruiting test this morning, got 100% on again. But it's an open book test, so if you can read, you can pass it. But we got to do that, so I can start calling recruits tonight, and I will. And I'm going to call as many as I can. And this staff has done a good job of keeping the class that we have together. But I hope, certainly before Christmas, we'll have all the staff hired, I would think. I'm not going to guarantee it, though.
Coach, Zach Clark with Camp Radio 1570 here on campus. How familiar are you with the Oregons and the USCs and the rest of your opponents that are in the Pac-12?
Well, a little bit with Oregon, because a lot of those guys that were, I guess, spread offense guys, spent a lot of time visiting together, trading ideas 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 years ago. So a lot of us have known each other and kind of traded film and studied each other. Jeff Teffer over Cal is a longtime friend of mine. Actually, I went over there in spring and spent a couple days in spring practice. He might be regretting that now, but I'm regretting it too, because I think I gave him too much information when I'm thinking about it. But no, I know some schools in the league, but the plays and players geographically is not as big a deal. I think in recruiting it is. I mean, you got to be able to recruit. But when you get on the field, there's 11 guys and those schemes. So the schemes from league to league really don't vary that much. I don't think there's, some people say, well, that's obviously the Big 12 is Big 12 may be more of a passing league. But the other leagues are, you run the whole gamut, from the Stanfords to what they do, to the Oregon, what they do, and everything in between.
manager with TucsonCitizen.com. What impact, if any, did the proposed facilities have on your desire for this job?
I certainly think it was a part of it. And not just from the standpoint because you want to, when you recruit a young man, usually not all the time, but a lot of times the really good players you're recruiting, you're not the only one recruiting. And sometimes you get a guy that maybe he's under the radar, but a lot of times the guys are recruiting, everybody else is recruiting. And so you don't have to have necessarily a whole lot better stuff from them, but you want to be in the same ballpark. But I think that more than anything was the message that it sends that they're committed to having the best football program in America. And when you show them this is what we're going to do, this is what's going to happen quickly, look how the commitment the university has to your football program and to your success here as a football player, I think that message is as important as the bricks and mortar. And so that's why I'm at a pretty neat place because I'm coming here, as Greg said, right when they're starting to break ground. And I think that was a big important piece as far as sending the message that, hey, coach, you want to be somewhere where you're going to have great success and be able to build the best program in America, look our commitment to it. And the people that supported it and have donated to it, I think have that same vision as I do.
One more question. Are you aware you got a redshirt senior quarterback here that might take your spot?
I heard about that. Yes, I did. I'm pretty excited about it. But I will tell you this, and I'll tell the team the same thing at the time when I talk to them next week. Certainly if they've played well, and contributed, that plays a factor. I mean, they've got some experience, and you look at them, but everybody's going to get a chance to prove themselves. It doesn't matter where they're at, and I've learned from that. There's sometimes, guys just kind of twisting the wind a little bit, and they think, okay, maybe I'll fit this scheme better, this system better. It's all over. Listen, it's a little different, coach. Remember I asked what the difference between the kids nowadays and the kids 20, 25 years ago are like. They say, kids won't run through a wall for you. I said, 25 years ago, you asked a kid to run through a wall, they do it, not asking questions. Now you'll still do it, but you got to tell them why. You got to say, this is why, Johnny, I want you to run through that wall. This is what, so you got to be more detailed and a different method of doing that, but they'll work hard. And as long as they work hard, give great effort, and they help us win and represent the program right way, they got a shot. So I'm not going to go into any preconceived notions. I think any coach would do that. What you've done in the past, you get to start, I don't say with a clean slate, because if I've been a knucklehead for a couple of years, I'm going to know he's going to be a knucklehead, because these coaches that are here are going to tell me that. But they get a fresh start, and I'm excited to see what they do.
Greg mentioned talking to the NCAA and conference officials and stuff like that. Obviously, the NCAA had the ruling in Michigan about practice time and number of assistants.
Yeah.
How often did that come up when you were talking to Greg? And what do you talk about?
Yeah, Greg, and Greg, you talk about his due diligence. I mean, that was what you should have been. His biggest, most of his questions, I don't say most, a lot of his questions were in that regard. Tell me what happened in Michigan. Tell me about the NCAA issues. He called people at the NCAA. He called our compliance officer, I believe, in Michigan. He called everybody he had to learn about the process. And I told him. And then, I had an attorney that I paid big money for it. And I'm glad I did because he really helped the process. That gave him a big report on everything that happened. And I think the NCAA put a perspective on it. I mean, there were issues, but the issues were fixed, cleaned up. And I assure you, and I assured him that there'll never be one again in the future. I mean, our guys will be compliant. I'm going to be compliant 100%. But it's always been important to me. But it'll be even more. I know that those eyes are on, so to speak. But that doesn't dominate out. You've got a great compliance office here. You've got a great history of that, and it'll continue. Okay, thank you all very much. Look forward to seeing you this Saturday.
Thank you for all the fans coming out today. For the media, Coach Rodriguez will be to our left here for a stand-up interview opportunity. And we thank you again for coming. Bear down to see you Saturday.